Okay, the mediation begins now. Good luck.
Thank you. Good morning and good evening. Welcome to ICC, and congratulations for having chosen mediation under the ICC rules to resolve your conflict. I would have loved to meet you in person in Paris, but I'm still glad that we can get together in this brand new virtual ICC meeting room and try to resolve your conflict. Before we actually enter into the mediation, I have a couple of things to share with you. First, I propose a brief round of introductions. We make it very short. I will start. My name is Martin Hauser. I practiced for more than 30 years as a French attorney in Paris. I'm today a full-time commercial mediator, and I'm the ICC appointed mediator in your case. What is most important to you is that I'm independent, neutral, impartial. I've never met you before. I might never meet you again. And all which matters to me is that I can help you to find a negotiated settlement agreement. Who would like to start? Generally, I say ladies first, but we have 4 ladies. Who would like to start with an introduction?
Perhaps as the requesting party, I'll go first. Hello, my name is
okay? Yeah, just want to check.
Apologies.
Okay, fine.
Absolutely, Martin.
Hello, my name is Dominique Savant, and I am the General Manager of Tradition Textiles, but you can call me Dom.
Thank you very much. Who's going next? Maybe your counsel?
Hello, my name is Brittany, and I am external counsel for Dominique, aka Tradition Textiles.
Thank you, Brittany.
And good evening. My name is Patrice Moore, and I'm the General Manager of Souvenirs for Home. You can call me Pat. And yes, today I'm here with Diana, who will probably introduce herself now.
Hello to everyone. My name is Diana, and I'm the external counsel to Ms. Pat, and I'm here to represent her rights and interests, and respectively those of Souvenirs for Home.
Thank you very much, Diana. Thank you to all of you. What about authorities on both sides? Is there any question, issue? Do you have authority?
I have full authority to sit.
Yeah. What
I
about
also
you,
do, Martin. Yeah.
Okay.
I have full
Thank you
authority.
very much. I know you are professionals of mediation, but a short explanation I have to give you about mediation and how it works. As you know, it is a structured negotiation process. It's your negotiation. I'm here to help you to go through certain phases. We will start with the fact-finding phase, and then we will explore each party's interests, and we will continue and search for options which should match the interests we have explored in a brainstorming session. And finally, we will try in the last phase to pick out 1, 2, or a combination of solutions which should then match both sides' interests as far as possible, and you should have an agreement. As you know, mediation is talking to one another, but it's even more about listening to one another with a fresh ear. So I'm here to facilitate and to structure the process. As you know, I have some power over the process. I have absolutely no power whatsoever over the merits. Not an arbitrator. I'm not acting as an attorney here. Nothing at all. I'm just a facilitator. And now, according to the rules, you are free to ask for a break of 3 minutes, as I'm not mistaken. You can call for a caucus. I suppose it's 5 minutes according to the rules. I can also call for caucus and a cross caucus. Now, there are a few rules for the proper conduct of the mediation. The first one is mutual respect. And the second is the rule of non-interruption. And there's one exception. The mediator might once in a while interrupt. I'm sorry for saying that, but it's part of his mission. And the third rule is the most important one, total confidentiality. Sorry. Everything which is said in this room is confidential for you, for the mediator, our observers, everybody. It cannot go out. It cannot be used in arbitration, in litigation. And there's a particular confidentiality to caucuses, as you know. If somebody calls a caucus, whatever you tell me remains confidential, unless you ask me to convey it to the other party. But this is only if you ask me to do that. Do you have any questions?
No. Thank you.
Thank you very
I
much.
don't think so. Yeah.
So my question would be, do you agree with the rules? If yes, I would like to hear a loud yes from everybody.
Yes.
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 Thank you very much. So we can start. The question to you is, who would like to start? It's not necessary one party or the other, but I would like to always check with the other side whether that's okay. Who would like to start?
Pat, would you feel comfortable if I went first as the requesting party?
I don't have anything in mind, Dom, so of course you can start.
Okay,
Great.
Wonderful. Dom, then please.
Well, and thank you, Martin. And Pat, I appreciate you accepting my request for mediation. I know the last year has been a difficult and unprecedented time, as this virtual format only reminds us. But I hope that today we can acknowledge the past, but most importantly, focus on the future. As I mentioned, my name is Dominique Savant, and I am the General Manager of Tradition Textiles. You can call me Dom. My business is my life. And for generations, Tradition Textiles has serviced our local community in the southwest of Franconia. My factory specializes in high quality textiles, traditional textiles, using our regional colors and designs. One of the things that I'm most proud about in my business is my employees, but also my business relationships. So Pat, that's why it means so much to me that we as two local businesses have been able to foster this relationship where we lift each other up. That's why when you placed your largest ever order with me in September 2019, I was thrilled for both of us. And production got off to a great start. However, the outbreak of a novel virus in December was devastating. When the government ordered a national lockdown, everything had to stop. My once humming factory sat lonely, sad, and empty. My employees were ordered by the trade union to stay home so as not to put themselves or their families at risk. Now, when the government approached me to help with the nationwide mask shortage, I saw a real opportunity to put my textile expertise and machines to use and do my bit. My factory once again had meaning. We were saving people's lives. And my employees bravely volunteered to come back into work, risking their lives, feeling a sense of fulfillment that they were doing their part to help their country through a crisis. Now, I know you were disappointed that as a result of the lockdown, we were unable to get your order to you by April 2020. But as soon as lockdown finished on May 11th, we were right back into finishing that order. I have to say, I was shocked then when you decided to cancel half the order. You more than anyone should understand that these are unprecedented times and that it was impossible to meet those original deadlines. Moreover, I was frankly insulted that you expected me to come and pick up that surplus stock that you had just discarded. Stock that me and my company had put so much effort into producing. Now, I understand the pandemic was something beyond either of our controls, which is why I'm hopeful here that in mediation, this way we can have control over what our future looks like. And as Martin suggested, by talking to each other, yes, but also by listening, we can come to a solution or solutions today that meet both of our respective interests. And to be transparent, my interests are today in that business relationship that we've worked so hard to establish, in my reputation as a small, local, family-owned business, in the financial well-being of my company and being paid what I feel that I'm owed, and lastly, in community well-being, both internal, the health of my employees, but also external, keeping all of Franconia safe. Now, I understand there is a legal element to today's dispute, so I've asked Brittany to come along and explain that side of things.
Thank you, Dom. Thank you very much. Brittany, would you like to pursue?
Yes, thank you, Martin. Good morning and good evening, Pat, Diana, and Martin. As external counsel, I have experienced many mediations, both in-house, in person, and now online. And I'd really like to emphasize how impressive Dom's willingness to be open and honest is, given that the events that have led us to all being here today have been a very difficult time for my client. Pat, I have faith that you too will share in my client's collaborative spirit and that this can be resolved. Dom wants to reach a settlement agreement that satisfies her interests. First and foremost, I am an advocate for those interests. So, in the event that this does proceed to litigation, I have advised my client that I will persuade the court of 4 things. Firstly, the contract did not allow for the situation of cancelling half the order in the event of a delay. In the event of a delay, it provided the penalty clause of 4%, not the option of cancellation. Secondly, regardless, Tradition Textiles, or TT, has a very strong force majeure defense. At the time the contract was signed, the nationwide lockdown in Franconia was not foreseeable by either party. Thirdly, TT performed the contract when they delivered the goods to SFH's warehouse, and SFH allowed TT to put them in the warehouse. This completes a sales of goods contract, delivery, and acceptance. All of the above means that I have advised my client that TT is entitled to the full 16 million euros value of the contract. Despite the strength of TT's case, I have advised my client of the benefits of mediation over litigation. Martin, you already mentioned how this is a forum where we can all talk with mutual respect and without interruption, and of course, knowing that everything we say is confidential. Now, understanding why you are both here today at the table will be important to provide a necessary context with a view to the future. Consequently, for my client to move past this dispute, today we will need to talk about the lockdown, the order, and the future. With the 1 to 2 year delay in the courts, those benefits of mediation that I've just highlighted are more significant than ever. Today is an opportunity for both parties to trust each other again and rebuild that relationship that you have fostered over the years. That is all I have to say for now. Martin, I'll pass the floor back to you.
Thank you very much. I would like to summarize, but I have quickly 2 little questions to you, Brittany. You mentioned 4 points. Was the fourth one, was that the 16 million? Okay.
Yes, TT is entitled to 16
Wonderful.
million.
Thank you. And you mentioned 3 points, lockdown, order, and which one was the third one?
So that was lockdown, the order, and the future.
And the future. Okay. Thank you very much. So I'll try to summarize for everybody. What I hear from Dom first is she is here in this mediation to look into the future. She is the representative or the partly owner of a family-owned business. She is very proud of the traditional high-quality textiles she is producing in this business since many years. And she is also very much taking care of her employees. She is very looking after her clients. This is all majorly important. And then came this big order in September 2019 from SFH, and you were thrilled about it. I think that's what I heard, thrilled. You were very happy about it. And then came a situation which had never occurred before. Sorry, it was the total lockdown. The unions asked your workers to stay at home. Nobody could work on this. And finally, the government asked you to work on masks, and you said it was a sort of a feeling of fulfillment. You had to do this. You wanted to help, and you wanted to be useful in this very awkward situation. And you say, I understand very well, Pat, that you are disappointed that there was a delay in the delivery of the products you have ordered, but you also say, Dom, that you were shocked, insulted even, that there was a cancellation of the contract, and you felt even insulted that you had, that there was a proposal that you go to Pat and fetch half of the products on the premises of the other side. Brittany then added some legal aspects. She said, I'm the advocate to my client. I'm also working towards a collaborative and future solution. However, if this has to go to litigation, you mentioned there are 4 points. The contract did not allow for cancellation, but foresaw foresees a penalty clause in that case. You have a very strong force majeure defense, you mentioned. And thirdly, you remind that TT performed to complete the contract and that PAT and SFH allowed you to deliver the products to their premises. And the fourth point was the claim of 60 million. You consider that your client is completely entitled to the full amount. However, you concluded you want to look into the future, and for you there are 3 points which should be highlighted and more deepened maybe, which is the lockdown, the order, and the future of the relationship. If I missed something which is very important to you, I said it with my own words. As you know, I'm not an English native speaker, so please feel free to add, to correct. It's your negotiation. Is there anything you want to add?
If I could just clarify 1 point, Martin.
Sure,
so SFH,
absolutely.
Cancelled or expressed an intention to cancel half of the contract. And it was then that they paid me just under half of the contract amount, 7.04 million. So just to
Thank you very much
that.
for the clarification. So about half was paid and they cancelled half of the contract. Okay, wonderful. So can we continue? Then we pass the floor to Pat and Diana, who wants to start on your side.
Maybe as a client, I will start, and then Diana will provide
Pat.
us, with remarks. Okay, so firstly, really thank you, Dom, for requesting this session. I mean, it was really an interesting idea to come here together and discuss everything. And Martin, I believe Dom and Brittany really provided us with a great summary of the facts, along with, they spoke about feelings, and yes, you've always been more outspoken to me than me, Dom. And I hope that now I'll provide you, Martin, with a little bit of more factual backgrounding and my own personal perspective on these events that happened. So yeah, Martin, we've been working together with Dom for more than 4 years now, and our work at Souvenirs at Home, as a distribution company, it is namely to provide our highly valued customers, and these are local shops, tourist and souvenir shops, with these exquisite artisanal local products. And for this, we rely exclusively, Martin, on manufacturers such as Tradition Textiles and Dom to provide us with this highest quality of such products. And in recent years, Martin, we are having a higher demand for artisanal souvenirs, and prospects seemed really good, I should say, back in 2019, when we decided to make a 130% order with Tradition Textiles. And I'm saying 130, Martin, because I'm comparing this with previous orders that we've had with them. And this was for the 2020 summer season, fortunately. And yes, as you have mentioned, of course, Dom, there was this pandemic, this sudden lockdown, which when everything had to stop, as you said, and every business, I shall say, and you can agree with me, I mean, every business within the tourism area, they were extremely affected by this novel virus situation. And we should both really consider, Dom, that the fact that, I mean, these unforeseen circumstances, they were really the main reason for reaching the point where litigation really seemed the only way to solve our dispute. And I understand that. And in spite of this, I would be really glad today to openly discuss all of these circumstances that brought us here, and discussing openly today. And I mean, I should say openness, especially in these times, it is of utmost importance in businesses. And as you said, Dom, that business is your life, and my business is also mine as well. I mean, we should definitely consider openness to be so important, because all businesses need to be open and working in the first place, especially in such hard times. And in regards to saving their lives, I mean, as if businesses were also living organisms, Martin and Dom, I believe there are really these crucial points which Brittany very goodly summarized that need to be covered. And before I get, of course, into details, into my personal view, to echo your words, Dom, I'm so glad. I mean, and I acknowledge the fact that you were thrilled for both of us back in September when we placed this bigger order. And I believe it is quite natural, Martin. I mean, that I felt disappointed when I heard that the order I made for late spring was not to be completed and delivered for an uncertain period of time, actually. And when I received this delivery with a 3-month delay, I mean, after having canceled half of it, I mean, I was already in a situation, Martin and Dom, where business prospects of souvenirs from home for the summer 2020, they were really drastically altered. And I can put myself in your shoes, Dom, and understand, I mean, how you felt sad and empty during the lockdown, especially. And also you were shocked, of course, by our cancellation. Though I'm glad that you feel also the reason why we were disappointed. And actually, yeah, I feel as if you are able to put yourself in my shoes as well. And again, I admire the fact that your workers really, they risk their lives in order to produce masks. And I find this incredible. And though, I mean, I also feel as if all of this uncertainty, it should be really used, Dom, to urge companies like ours to come together, to join forces, and to continue really with a stable business relationship, especially in these unpredictable times. And in order to do this, yes, I believe we should discuss the main reasons which motivated our past decisions. And hopefully we'll be able to exhaust this with your help, Martin. And naturally, you and I, Dom, I mean, we cannot be responsible for the government's restrictions. And however, after we get really a deeper understanding of the situation for both of us, I believe that in the spirit of collaboration, which Brittany mentioned, I really believe that we should discuss options to continue to work with you, Martin. Pardon me, Dom, with you at Tradition Textiles. Yeah. So Martin, I mean, and Dom, I believe improvement in touristic demand, actually, it is foreseen at this point. And with these announcements of several vaccines on their way, I feel positive about it. And from a general manager's perspective, really, I should say that we have plenty to discuss today, and most of which is, of course, connected with the circumstances out of the control of any of us, as we are on the same page here. And Martin and Dom, in spite of all of this, I really see today's session as a good opportunity to start over, to discuss our last order with you, and hopefully to further our business together. And yeah, now I'd like really to invite my lawyer, Diana, to provide us with her legal remarks on this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Christina. Diana, you would like to?
Yes. Thank you, Martin, and thank you, Ms. Pat, for passing me the word. And hello to everyone. As you already know, my name is Diana, and I'm here to represent rights and the interests of my client, Ms. Pat, and respectively those of Souvenirs for Home. I would like to start first by thanking you, Ms. Dom, for requesting this mediation session, and also thank your lawyer, Brittany, for providing your very professional legal analysis and perspective of textiles traditions on the current situation. And it is really nice to see that you, Ms. Dom, want to discuss the situation together with my client, Ms. Patrice. And I would also like to thank you, Martin, for being our mediator today. And I hope with your guidance, both parties can find a mutually beneficial result today. And we would very much rely on you in assistance in case any linguistic difficulties arise, because English is not our native language. I would like to first outline that I see my role here today as a facilitator of the situation from a legal perspective. And specifically, Martin, we're here today is provided by Brittany as well because of the delay of the delivery of the products ordered from Tradition Textile by my client, Souvenirs for Home, and namely about what payment is owed. In my legal perspective, Ms. Dom, Souvenirs for Home had the right to cancel half of the order at the end of June, considering there was already a 2-month delay and the Tradition Textile could not provide my client with a revised timeline. Additionally, I consider that my client had the right to make the cancellation as a situation with the pandemic is a force majeure situation for my client, Ms. Pat, because the virus has plunged the demand for her products to zero, and this has led to her canceling half of the order. In my legal perspective, I also consider that accepting the other half of the order cannot be considered an acceptance of the whole order, because my client has specifically informed you to come and take the order back as it's in her warehouse, and therefore she has not accepted the order, in my personal opinion, legal. And also, I would like to say now that as to the 4% penalties imposed by my client for each of the 3 months delay on the half order value of 8 million euros, which my client decided that this is she wants only half of the value. My client has personally told me that it was her understanding that if you could produce masks during the lockdown, she believed that you could also produce souvenirs as well. And this was the reason why in August she paid you 7,040,000 euros. Now, after hearing your perspective on the virus situation, it seems to me, Dom, that there was just a great deal of miscommunication between the two of you, which has contributed to this situation and was the reason why actually my client felt disappointed after hearing that you will not be able to execute your contractual obligations in time, as she did not understand necessarily the reasons why. And also we know that there's also miscommunication, considering that my client canceled half of the order and then the whole order came later in the end of July. This, I personally believe that mediation is indeed the best option for solving the current issue, as it can provide both parties with an understanding of what the underlying reasons for the occurrence of these differences between the two of you are and why each acted the way it did. And I think personally that this mediation session should not be about legal arguments, but it should be about the needs and the interests of the clients and finding beneficial solutions to really move forward. And I have personally, Martin, encouraged my client to come here in good faith. And from what I understand, Ms. Dom, you said that you value openness and honesty as well. So I think you're both here on the same page. And I have heard that you, Ms. Dom, are willing to find solutions to these issues together with my client. And you're even open to signing an agreement today. So I think that's a very good start from both of you. And I really hope that the two of you can find a mutual ground with the help of Martin as well. And now I would suggest that with the help of Martin, maybe we could set an agenda with the most important issues that both parties consider necessary to be addressed today in order to find a beneficial solution. and I wish you really both, Ms. Dom and Ms. Pat, a very productive business session. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Diana, as well. And this was a lot of information. I tried to summarize in a nutshell because you were all here and you have heard it. Diana is suggesting to set up an agenda. What I've heard from Pat is that she is actually thanking Dom for having requested this mediation. You also consider this is a very good possibility to talk and to find a solution. You also mentioned that Dom made a good summary of the facts and of the feelings, you said. Please correct me. That's what I heard from your side. Then you called a little bit the background. You said we are together since 2017. We work together. That you also have a business, a family-owned business. That you're proud of your business. Exactly the same. And Pat, you mentioned I put myself in your shoes, Dom, and please put yourself in my shoes. You were requesting her for doing so, and you mentioned that you had some understanding for what Dom said and for her feelings. You mentioned that you admire the work which is done by her, that she was producing masks, but you said we are not responsible, your company, for government restrictions. And you said that you are really looking to a future collaboration to the future, that there is hope, there are vaccines around there, not only one, but several ones. So the times should be much better than at the moment. Then Diana thanked again for the mediation and the professional analysis of her colleague, from what I understood. Please correct me. And you mentioned from the legal aspects, you mentioned delay. You said there had been 3 months of delay, Diana, and that your client considers, and you as well, when TT was able to produce masks, they were also able to produce the products which had been ordered. That's why you paid. And since it was not the case, you consider that you were entitled to cancel half of the contract. You also mentioned miscommunication among the two parties, which led to disappointments, and you finally proposed to leave legal points a little bit aside and to set up an agenda to have a better analysis of what you want to talk about. That's what I understood. If there's anything which is not correct or really missing and majorly important, there was lots of information, please feel free to edit. Is there anything you want to add, Pat or Diana?
I do not think so, Martin. I believe maybe an agenda would be a good idea because really
Okay.
we mentioned so much.
What about Dom and Brittany? You okay with an agenda?
Yes,
Yes,
and I definitely
Okay.
highlighted in my opening that we would love to structure the conversation by discussing the lockdown, the order, and the future. Would that be an okay agenda for you both, Diana and Pat?
May I just suggest one thing? Open the whiteboard. As you know, in the digital environment, what happens if we won't see each other anymore? At the end of the session, I will get used to your voices. At the moment, it's not the case. We will not see each other. So please be so kind and say who is talking, because I only see the whiteboard. I will put it down. But what we can also do, it depends on the number of points. We don't use the whiteboard and we write it, each of us, on a sheet of paper. But I would prefer to open the whiteboard as it was suggested on both sides. And at the same time, you also write it on a sheet of paper, because otherwise we always switch and we can't see each other. Okay?
Yes, great idea.
Shall we do it?
Thank you, Mal.
Okay.
Yes.
Here we go. So.
Actually, Martin, will this whiteboard work? Because in the previous sessions, we weren't really able to use it. I don't know about you.
I did, and I tell you, I tested it even before, as I usually do, Well, that we don't have a problem. I mean, we'll see. If it doesn't, we just stop it. Huh? We won't lose time on this. Here I put the cursor and I'm listening to you. Which is the point up? Which point do you want me to put? We can define the order afterwards. Huh? I heard several points from TT, and there were other points mentioned from SFH, but I would like you to find a common. Which one do you want to put first on the board?
I wanted to ask Diana and Pat, were you happy with those 3 points that we proposed? So that was the lockdown, the order, and the future.
Order, and future.
I'm sorry, Miss Pat.
Please, Diana, as my lawyer, you are able to answer this. Yeah.
Well, I think yes, of course, lockdown is very important as it refers to the situation that has brought you here. So, of course, speaking about this I think it's one of the main keys for solving this. Could you elaborate more what you mean by order specifically?
Of course. So from my discussions with Dom, the order is more about how can we make it work? How can we resolve the situation that's happened? We don't want to get stuck in the legal merits of each side's case. So that's more of a future focus discussion.
Okay, so from what I'm understanding, you're proposing a more general agenda that it's not that specific on the issues. Is that correct?
Yes. We want today to be a flexible discussion.
Yes, I think. I'm sorry, Martin. Go ahead.
What I'm hearing from you on the first point, lockdown, it's actually the events after lockdown, huh? That's what you want to talk about. What has happened, deepened this on both sides. Shall we put that on the whiteboard?
The lockdown itself as well. Thank you, Martin. So during and after.
Is everybody okay that I put lockdown on the board? Just have to find my cursor.
Thank you.
Pat, is that okay with you or not?
I believe so. I mean, of course, we'll be more specific once discussing the points of the agenda. Yeah, the lockdown sounds good to me. Yeah.
We can put sub-points as well, huh? No problem. I cannot put them as such here, but okay. Lockdown. Oops.
Well, yes, of course, Martin, I mean, maybe sub-points will be needed because, of course, during the lockdown, there were these events, which were the reasons why, of course, we cancelled this order, half of the order. And of course, maybe we could also discuss the way we calculate how much should be paid for what we have received. So yes, there are a couple of things in my view to discuss there.
So I think it was.
We can certainly make a note of those sub-points, but I think it's today that we get through this agenda quickly and we just start with those 3 points.
Absolutely. And the whiteboard doesn't work, so we have to do it on paper. So the first one is lockdown, okay?
Thank you, Martin.
What is the sub-points, Pat?
Maybe we skip sub-point listing and we just make sure we tick off all those points before we move on. We can check in with
Pat had some sub-points here.
My client, Ms. Pat, stated payment of delivery, I guess volume of the delivery would be an issue here.
Perhaps that
These are not sub-points, no? These are not sub-points to lockdown.
I think perhaps they fall more under discussing the order, Martin, if that's all right. I really just want to talk about the impact lockdown has had under that lockdown point. And when it comes to the order, we can talk about the quantity, the payment, and at the end of the day, what we're going to do with that stock.
Yes.
As well as issues
is that
of
okay
delay.
for everybody? Then we have as main point lockdown. Second is order with sub-points, volume, and payment.
Yes.
Thank you.
Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, please, Martin, maybe if we could really hear Diana what was.
Yeah, I was
just
saying that, of course, we shouldn't be that specific, I guess, on the agenda because, I mean, the agenda is a living organism. At least in my opinion, I don't know about you, Martin. And yeah, the parties should feel comfortable discussing however they feel discussing the issues and what counts as important. But I heard reputation was a concern of yours, Ms. Dom. Was this correct? Should we put it on the agenda as well?
I would like to discuss our reputations under future, I feel, and what we can do in the future to ensure both of our thriving reputations, if you're comfortable with that, Pat.
Yes. Yes, we're definitely on the same page here, Dom. And provided that, of course, we discuss the reasons which I was mentioning just earlier. I mean, another issue that we've had really, Dom, I believe you can agree with me, this is definitely the communications one. So maybe communication and relationship between the both of us would also be key to discuss today.
So
maybe
communication.
Where do you think that would fit, Martin? Perhaps under the lockdown in terms of a breakdown in communication?
At the moment, I just put it on the board, and then we'll see which order we do that. But we have to do it quickly. Communication, okay. That's one of the things you would like to talk about. What else do we have? Is another topic you want to talk?
The order?
Yeah, the order I have. I
Yes.
have order, subpoints, volume, payment. I tell you what I have now. Lockdown, order, subpoints, volume, payment, future with reputation. I think that's what it was. Was it that?
Right.
Reputation?
Yes. And
Okay. And then I have communication, and you will tell me if these are all the points, in which order you want to start. We can start with communication, we can start with lockdown, we can start with future, why not?
I think it's
As you
best
like.
we start with the lockdown because that's sort of where this all began. And I wanted this agenda point to be a space for Dom to air her side of the story with that lockdown. So Dom, if you could explain.
Is
I
that okay,
appreciate you.
everybody? Sorry, one second. I just want to have an agreement on the agenda. And I'm not sure everybody's on the same page here. So lockdown is the first point. Is that fine with you, Pat and Diana?
yes.
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
Would it help
Second,
Martin, to put it in the chat? I know we can't use the whiteboard, but maybe Brittany could type that up into the chat function for you.
yeah, I can try whether it works. We'll see. One.
Or if you're comfortable, or if you'd like Brittany to.
I do it. Don't worry.
Okay.
What is the second one? Do we then speak about order, or will we speak about
Yes, yes.
communication?
The order, and then thirdly, the future, where we discuss communication and reputation.
Lockdown. I would like to hear from Pat and from Diana. Order is the second point. Is that okay?
Yes,
Good.
but I think we should not be that specific, in my opinion, to the points. I think this is counterproductive. I think for my client, all those points are mixed together for making her decision, from what I know. And but yes, this sounds so far good.
Okay. I understand
I
very
agree.
well. I mean, this is always a bit artificial, but it helps to allow a deeper analysis of each point instead of mingling up everything. So, but I understand everything is of course linked. Then we have the third point is what? Communication or future?
Future with a discussion of communication.
Yes, and
Absolutely.
reputation.
Is that okay?
And I'm sure that
Future.
communication of grievances will come up as well under the lockdown and the order discussions.
Of course.
Definitely, Dom, yes.
Okay. So here we have something. Hope you can see it. I
Great.
put
Thank
the
you so much.
subpoints in brackets because otherwise I couldn't do it technically wise. Okay, wonderful. So lockdown, who wants to start on that? I heard that you, Dom, you would like to start. Is that fine with Pat and Diana? Good.
Well, yes, actually, I wanted to ask you about really the situation, Dom. Pardon me, though. Yeah, I want to know, in order to maybe guide you to what I was wondering about for a while. I mean, in general, what impact really this novel virus have on your work? Because I mean, except from this fact that you stopped working for a while, and maybe if you could elaborate a bit more on this one, as well, as really I do not think that I have a good understanding of this situation of yours. And please correct me if I'm wrong. And you did not stop working at all, though I believe you stopped. And yes, please inform me about this impact of the novel virus, really.
Absolutely, Pat, and I'm happy to respond to that. I also wanted to pick up on some things too that you said in your opening, that this pandemic has been hard for all of us in the tourism industry, and that ultimately it was out of our control. And so I really enjoyed that sentiment, that idea of us being two local businesses really banding together to overcome this. In terms of your question and the losses that I've suffered, my factory was closed for 2 months, and that was mandated by the government. I had no choice. Now I understand, having heard from your opening, Diana, it's confusing, right? You're hearing me say my factory was closed, and then at the same time, you're seeing workers in there working on masks. And I can understand how that would be extremely frustrating. And you ask the question, why is it that we're able to work on masks, but we can't be making textiles? And the reason for that is simple. The only reason I was able to reopen my factory was because the government allowed us to, for that very specific purpose. I'm sure you remember how serious the political situation around masks was. There weren't even enough masks for the medical workers. So of course I was happy, more than happy, to take part. And my employees decided to come in when they could have stayed at home and received 84% of their wage in a government subsidy. So to be clear, the only reason we were open was to be working on masks. And I could not have expected my employees to be coming into work, risking their lives during a lockdown, to be working on what I understand are important shipments for both of us. But essentially, those are commercial concerns, when the real concern here was saving people's lives. So I hope you understand that for me to require that, it would have been exploitative of my employees. And also it would have been breaching what the government had authorized. So to make it clear, when I was making those masks, I was not making any profit. I was doing that as a social good and something to boost morale as well amongst my workers. So for 2 whole months, my factory didn't make any profit. So I'm sure you can understand that this has been hard on both of us. And so I was wanting to understand in more detail, what have the effects been, what have the losses been for you as a result of this pandemic?
Maybe if I could
Thank you.
summarize from Ms. Pat, because there's so much very important information that was shared by you, Ms. Dome, and thank you very much for sharing this. It's very useful and important, and it's great what you have done during the lockdown, for sure. So from what I understand, you were allowed to do this because this was essential work, considered, I guess, by the government in a way, and this was the only allowed type of work to help the government fight this virus that was allowed to be done. And you did not make any profit during those 2 months while you were working. And even your workers, they could have received a wage of 84%, but they chose to help instead and try to work for this cause. Is that correct?
Yes.
Maybe now, Ms. Pat, you could answer the question of Ms. Dom.
Absolutely. Well, really, thank you, Dom, for letting me know that you are actually closed for these 2 months. I believe from 11th of March. And yes, I do now understand that you were allowed to open solely for the reason to produce masks. And I once more, I would really like to point out the fact that I do appreciate your commitment to the nation's well-being, I should say, to its health. And I mean, your commitment to produce textiles literally to save lives. I admire this once more, and I find it crucial in these times, provided this complex situation. Though, of course, to me, your closure and producing masks, it was not actually extremely frustrating. To my team, it was simply a bit confusing. And this is where my in-house lawyer stepped in and decided that we should, of course, inquire these penalties once when we pay you for the delivery, of course, in August. Though I mean, it is interesting, and I once more admire you for deciding to work without any profit. this is very, very good for the nation, and I admire this. Though, I mean, obligations to our contract, they were due, and in my opinion, really, we could have done better, and maybe we could have spoke about this back then. We could have communicated better, really, and of course, we could have acted differently if we knew this broader picture. And especially if I personally knew, I definitely would have made my decisions differently. And but to answer your question, what losses for me were, of course, I shall say, I mean, though Diana did mention at some point this was the zero demand of these products which we provide and supply shops with. I mean, at some point, I was literally just asking myself, I mean, what could I do to help and save my business? Though, I mean, with the time, and you see, during the summer, restrictions were not so I shall say, strict and forbidding. And really, from this zero demand, which Diana mentioned, we are now in a relatively good position, I should say, though I cannot really be specific on numbers at this point. And yes, I really would now like to maybe discuss why the reasons why we did not manage to communicate efficiently. What are the reasons in your view, Dom? And I hope I'm not overwhelming you with information right now. Yes, please?
May I just jump in a second? I heard something interesting from both sides. You both were talking about confusion. You understand on each side that there was something which was really confusing. And I also heard that you both had losses on both sides. I mean, you were, Dom, working without profit, and I heard from Pat that she doesn't have, I mean, you talked about zero demand from shops. Okay.
If I could just interrupt there, sorry, Dom. Pat, I heard you mention that although there was that zero demand during the lockdown, you are now in a relatively good position as the restrictions on social distancing have been reduced. How does that correlate to the stock that TT provided? Have you been able to sell that now that demand has picked back up?
Yes. Well, actually, should I ask for the answer of Dom, or do you want me to firstly answer our situation, Dom? What do you think?
I think we can agree that there's been a communicational breakdown here. Maybe if we're both comfortable acknowledging that fact, we can talk about what I can do and what you can do to each make sure that that doesn't happen again going forward. And we can discuss that later under the future agenda point, if you're comfortable with that. I'm also interested, I think Brittany's asked a really good question, because I don't have the same information as you do on the touristic demand. So I'd like to know how that's affected your stock, if that's all right.
Well, yes, of course, I am able to answer this because after opening everything, and you see at some point, really everything was closed, camping grounds, festivals, all outdoor activities, which was really, it was a pity for us especially. So we had some tourists coming in, and we did manage to sell some of the products which you supplied us with. And I mean, the main point here, Dom, should be really that I am positive about the future. Maybe I'll be more specific once, I mean, and I'm willing to be more specific once I know your situation, and if we are to continue together, of course. Though I am positive, I cannot be really concrete with numbers at this point, though we are positive that, and provided the fact that I'm repeating myself, though these vaccines I see as hope, I see as a light at the end of the tunnel, and hopefully also with the mask that you're having, and with the restrictions, we will be having back tourists to these local shops where we can supply them with this. So yes, I mean, I managed to sell more than I expected, actually, and which was okay with us. So yes, and Dom, I was wondering, because you mentioned your workers, and I really want you to exhaust this, the reasonings behind our decisions, our past decisions. So do you have any concerns, other concerns for your workers besides, of course, risking their lives, which is, of course, a major thing to think about? I cannot imagine putting so many lives at risk. I believe you have about 80 workers, or please correct me if I'm mistaken. Could you elaborate on your workers as well, before we get, of course, to communication and specific options to continue together?
Well, I appreciate that. And as I said, my workers and their well-being is one of my utmost priorities. So as it stands, my workers are doing well. They found a real sense of joy and fulfillment in their job, having had this added purpose. And so in terms of your question, things are doing great with my workers. I'm aware that you mentioned a couple of other things that I wanted to pick up on. You said that you have been able to sell some of the products, and
Yes,
more than you expected. I'm not sure if you have specific numbers on that, but I think it would really help me, because I think what we both agree that we're hearing here is we've both suffered losses. And while I'm sure Brittany and Diana each have their legal opinions as to how we may recover those losses in court or whatever, at the end of the day, I think as businesswomen, we can agree the best way to make that money back is to sell that stock. So I'm really interested in doing what we can to help you sell that stock. So I was wondering if you had any more details on how much stock you have, that would be greatly appreciated, and how I can help you with that.
okay. Diana, yes, please go.
Yeah, maybe if I could answer this. So my client has sold value of 6 million of the volume she has received, 6 million euros, which is she's left with 2 million euros left from the half order she later requested to only receive. So in that respect, this is what she has made throughout the summer. It's not what was expected, I guess, but it's still better than nothing. And there is some, I hope, really. So on that note, I was really wondering whether there were some specific losses you have incurred, and of what importance was really the payment of my client, the whole amount of 60 million euros to you, considering the circumstances with the virus.
Perhaps that's more applicable to our second agenda point, and I could just remind everyone of what we have discussed so far, because I think we've covered a lot of really productive ground here. So what I've heard is that the impact of this novel virus has been hard for all businesses here at the table today. You are two local businesses who rely on tourism, but it's really lovely to see you coming together. And Dom explained that, yes, the factory was open during that lockdown, but it was to provide those masks under the non-profitable contract to save lives in Franconia. And we had a really great discussion on SFH's losses, and Diana and Pat, I'm sure I speak on behalf of my client when I say that we appreciate your transparency in disclosing that of the stock we'd given you, you have sold 6 million euros worth of it. And I guess that leaves us with a discussion on exactly how we can manage to get through and sell and clear that stock for you, because my client is interested in working with you on that. And so I think that nicely moves us into discussing the order specifically, as we've now heard exactly how the lockdown has affected everyone. Martin, I'm wondering if you could help us move into this agenda point, or check in with Pat if she is ready to.
Oh, actually, Brittany, I mean, maybe it was me because I seem to be lacking my network for a while. Could you be a bit more specific on your losses? Because, of course, I understand that Dom, your company has been working for no profit during the period in which you were producing masks. Really, do you have any considerable losses in any specific? Because, of course, openness, I'll draw circle back to what I said in the very beginning of the session. Openness is really a word that's at the heart of our company. And Diana was to provide you with a specific number. So could you be more specific on your side about losses which you suffered? Because maybe in this way we could really see the picture as a whole.
And I really value that openness as well, which is why I regret that I can't bring you a physical figure here today, and I can absolutely go back to my accountants and get that. But as I said, my factory was closed for 2 months. So that's essentially a sixth of our year's profit that we've lost. So while I don't have specific numbers on losses for you, what my losses do mean is that I can't afford to be taking back stock, which I've already made and already delivered. And so where my losses really sit me is that it's in my interest that our future relationship continues so I can help you and you can help me. We can sell this remaining stock. And as I've heard, you sold 6 million already, which is considerable, seeing as the delivery was significantly delayed. And I understand that the next tourist season, May, is not too far away. So I was wondering if you feel confident that you would be able to sell that stock. And I understand maybe international tourism may not be what it has been in the past, but maybe domestic tourism, and perhaps you'd know more about that than I would. But I understand the concern in the meantime is that storage, and that you asked me to come and pick my stock back up. Well, in my eyes, I just saw, it's already been sitting there now since July, and May is so close. It's not like these are perishables or food, and in my eyes, those goods are perfectly good, and in fact, perfectly high quality to be sold this next coming season. So I was wondering, do you have any concerns about storing that, or would you be happy to keep it and then we can proceed to sell in the next upcoming tourist season?
Yes, well, actually, this is really a very, very interesting question. Diana, did I interrupt you?
Yeah, maybe if I could answer this, Ms. Pat.
I'm sorry.
So, yeah, as you know, Ms. Dom, Ms. Pat informed you that you should take this volume of products that she hasn't paid for in August, which was last year, August. So now these products are sitting in her warehouse. From what I know, that's not an issue. Is that correct, Ms. Pat? But of course, I think she was trying also to be fair, considering that she rejected this order, and this was not an order she wanted, this part of the order, and she paid you only for the other half. So I think on her side, it was just really being fair and returning the other part, which she hasn't paid for and also did not want to. So on that note, considering that this is very important for you, and that you said that this is the taking back of the stock is something that's specifically refusing the whole purchase is something, an issue that you mentioned also in your opening statement. I would like to ask you, at what stage were you in the production of the products, of the souvenirs, when my client informed you at the end of June that she wants only half of the order and not the whole order as agreed upon the contract?
So I understand, once again, I don't have specific numbers on that, but what I do need you to understand is that my workers had been working on that order since September. And with our line of work in textiles, it's not simply a linear process. Things are happening at all times. We have to purchase the raw materials. So we had already incurred those costs. What I'm hearing now is that you've been asking me for my financial position. And I guess maybe a clearer answer I could give you. Martin, maybe, I know things can get a little bit tricky when you start talking in numbers. And so you can help to guide and ease the tension in this conversation, even though as businesswomen, I know that it can make people uncomfortable. At the end of the day, that contract was worth 16 million. And it would be my interest for you to be able to sell that remaining stock and pay me the remaining half of the amount. Now, I understand that you also have deducted about 1.9 million, I think, in the cancellation fees, or the delay fees rather. At the end of the day, and I know, Brittany, there's a legal argument to this, which I think we've hashed over. The force majeure is, to my understanding, I think we can both agree that that was outside either of our control, and we didn't have knowledge of that. So I'm prepared to make some kind of reduction in that contract payment to reflect that things haven't gone well on both sides. But likewise, I would ask for your cooperation and your help on the other side so we can move this stock and get us back the money that we both so badly need.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, really thank you for your exhaustive question. Answer to one of Diana's questions, actually, because Diana actually mentioned the fact that we do not know whether you finished the order before we canceled it. That's what I wanted to know. So maybe if you could simply assure me that you have finished or you haven't back in June.
Well,
yes.
I was more than halfway through, and so that put me in a difficult position.
Okay, more than halfway through.
I can imagine from the timeline that I was more than halfway through. And in my eyes, I was just doing what the contract provided me to do. Now, I know another concern of yours was the delay, right? I acknowledge that after even lockdown ended, it took us an extra 3 months as opposed to 2 months. And in the name of openness and honesty, I did want to share why that was the case. And the government had, even after lockdown, imposed lots of mandatory restrictions on social distancing and masks and hand sanitizer. So it took us some time to get our factory back to normal and functioning in that way. So that helps to explain why that 2-3 month delay.
So from what I understand, you have invested a lot, of course that's understandable, in these products, and you have also purchased the raw materials. You were at least halfway through with the order when my client informed you that she wants only half of the order by the end of July. And you also proposed that if there is some way to sell the rest together, you would reduce the pricing for the order. Is that correct, Ms. Dom?
Yes, that's correct. But I was really wanting to get in exchange for that, as I need an assurance from you, Pat. Do you feel that you can sell that order in this upcoming tourist season? And what is that demand looking like from either domestic or international tourists?
Okay. Well, John, before I answer your question, the answer to your question actually refers to some information that I would really like to discuss with Martin and Diana privately, if you wouldn't mind, Dom. Yes, absolutely. So maybe Martin, okay. Yeah, I'd like to call for a caucus now.
Okay. In a second, it will be organized. Okay, here we are. Can you hear me?
Just the three of us? Yes.
Yeah, it was a strange sound. Okay, wonderful.
So yes, the reason I called this caucus, Martin, it was because actually I am now willing to keep this other cancelled half of the order, which is within our warehouses at Sofia from home. And actually, I feel, Martin, that's also, I feel as if I need your support here, maybe your guidance, because they did mention the spirit of cooperation and collaboration at the beginning. So, I'm not feeling that we are building really a very fertile negotiation climate, because I'm worried about rushing a little bit, because they seem were really dominant. They seem open and dominant at the same time in this session to me. And yes, I wanted, because there is this situation, Martin. So back in December, when we canceled the half of the order before we received the whole one, actually, prospects were not really good. And I do not sound, today I don't want to seem as if they cannot count on me or anything, because prospects have changed really from then on. And you see, I also see that, they're TT's products cannot simply go demote or old-fashioned or anything. And actually, our team is now considering selling this during next summer, because see, we have sold 6 million out of the whole 16 million
That's what you said,
order.
yeah.
Yes, and here I'm worried, how would they see the fact that I mean, I was back then canceling the order, and now I'm actually insisting on keeping it. Or I mean, and they seem more insisting to me to keep it. I'm getting a little bit confused here, so maybe I'll need your guidance, really, Martin.
I'm happy that you're actually asking this, because I wanted to ask both parties again about their interests. We heard from Dom that she said, my interest is, she said that explicitly, my interest is not to take back the stock. And my question to you was, but I didn't want to intervene because the parties spoke very nicely with each other. There's no need for the mediator to jump in, but I want to ask what your interest is. And we're in a confidential negotiation. So it's up to you to decide whether you can share this with the other side. But the question came to you, could you consider, it's not perishable, could you consider selling this in the next season? This question came up. What I understand confidentially here within the caucus, just within the three of us, is that you could consider this. That's what I understand. Huh? And the question is whether you can share this with the other side. I cannot give you an advice on that as a mediator. I can only say we are in a confidential negotiation. Parties only exchange openly about their interests when they know and reassured about confidentiality. So this is a strategic question you have to decide together with Diana. But it would certainly be interesting at some point, because the other party asked, what is your interest in this case?
Maybe if I could add to this discussion.
Please, Diana, tell me, what do you think? I mean, how should I communicate it? Maybe.
I think personally, that's my perspective so far. I don't think it's that much the offer. I think it's, I don't know whether you agree with me, Martin, but I think there is something missing in the discussion. There was this communication issues that you haven't addressed yet. There was this reputational issue that they have. And from my personal perspective, I think maybe, I don't know whether you agree, Martin, they're just those issues that are the very foundation of any relationship that both parties seem to have. And for me, I don't know, Martin, you are the expert here, but can you really build a good relationship and really consider such offers if you have not yet, I don't know, laid those very important background to the offer?
Then speak it. You raise the question. Talk about this to the other side. Share this. Share your concern. Share your fear. Share your concern. Maybe it's also a question of trust. I kind of have the feeling I hear implicitly it has to do with trust also.
Yes.
Because of the miscommunication. Because of the future. Share this. Share your concern.
So yes, Martin. Could I ask you to do this? To share this information that I've just talked to you about, because I believe this will be the way to move forward. If you are the one, in order to not get confused.
We are already all together here.
Yes, and could you do this, Martin?
I think it is better if the party does that in that situation, to give you a light answer. This is just the end of the caucus. Yeah. Now, my question to Dom and Brittany is, do you also want to have a caucus, or is it fine if we continue? Sorry, I cannot hear you. I don't know what. Dom, I can't hear you. Have a look at the mic. No,
Dom,
you're
on mute.
Don't you? Can you hear her?
I was just, my microphone is on mute.
Okay, good.
Do you think Martin, is now a good time? Because I would like to talk to you now, but I'm also aware if maybe the other party wants to say about what they learned in the caucus.
If one side has a caucus, I always have a caucus with the other side, unless the other side says there's no need for a caucus. So please feel free. Yeah, if you want to have a caucus, let's do it.
Then I would love a caucus now, please.
Yeah. Okay. Wonderful. Then they will put us in the breakout room. Here we are. Okay. Welcome again.
Well, thank you, Martin. And I guess my main concern with what's happening today is it's been really productive, but I'm concerned about the time. And I understand that building trust and this relationship has been really important today. So my question for you, and I'll give more explanation, but I wanted to know whether with the time we've got remaining, am I best to focus on the past or on the future? And what I mean by that is I have something that in the name of trust I should probably share, which is even after lockdown, when we went back to making the textiles order, some of my employees stayed making masks. And that's extremely
They did what? Sorry, I
important.
didn't hear. Some of your employees?
Some of my employees.
It's good.
They continued making masks. And I think that might maybe make the other side upset to hear that. But at the same time, I want them to know how important that is to me. And actually, this leads on to my future point, is that I have an exciting opportunity to be able to sell them masks to SFH, and they can then sell them and make money. So I guess I want to hear your opinion. We've only got 10 minutes left. Is it better to dwell on the past or look to the future?
You mentioned the word trust. If trust is an issue, it is unfortunately not on our agenda, but maybe it was worth also putting it on the agenda. Talk about trust, and you will see how the other side will respond. This is a majorly important point, which is it is linked to the past, and it's certainly linked to the future. Without trust, it's going to be difficult to have a collaboration. So I would just say, please feel free to talk about trust.
Yes,
Open
and maybe
up about your concern. Speak it out.
And maybe I could talk about it because I do understand communication as part of that third point. So maybe I could talk about it in that context. Do you think, would it be all right to go back into the session now then, and for you to make a space for me to share that concern and then maybe pivot it into a future
Look, Dom, if this is a concern and you're asking a caucus for this, it's really a point which is important for you. So why don't we go back into the session and you just speak about trust? This is a confidential mediation. The doors are closed, even in the digital environment, and you will see what happens on the other side. Just feel free and light about it.
I think this has been very valuable, but I'm also excited to get back in there with the few minutes we have remaining.
Of course.
Yeah. Dr. Pat.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Here we go.
Thank you.
So thank you. The videos are back. Can we see everybody? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you to all for the caucuses. We don't have too much time. Who wants to again speak about the important points? Is it Dom? Is it Pat? Who wants to start?
If you're all right, Pat, I have something I need to share, which I think will also be of interest to you. And I want to make sure I frame this right, because I know we've talked about communication and honesty and trust.
Absolutely.
I want you to know that even after lockdown finished and my workers went back to work, working on your products, some of them also were still making masks. And I understand that could be frustrating to hear, because you might have expected that it would be only your products that would be being worked on. But I need you to understand, from my opinion and from my perspective, once we started making masks, it was hard to stop. Not only was there a huge sense of fulfillment for my employees, there was this great responsibility that I felt, and also a desire to stay ahead with this advantage that we had built in the market. So the reason I want to share this today is because, in the name of being open and honest, Martin really encouraged me to share this. But I think also because it doesn't have to be a negative. And I think we can switch this into a positive and going forward, because we have that amazing ability to make masks. Something I really want to share with you. And I heard you reference it maybe before, so I'd be interested to gauge your interest. But is for us to produce and design masks for SFH to sell in your stores or in your retailers. And these would be designed with our famous traditional textiles. They'd be the highest quality, because we know masks are obviously a necessity, but going into the future are going to become even more of a accessory. And so it could be really the it souvenir. I understand, Brittany, we have maybe a little bit of a handout, a picture that could help you really get on board with what I've imagined here. What I want to do, because I am aware we just got told we have 5 minutes left. Yeah. Brittany's put that up in the handout. Please, I know I've just given you a lot of information, that confidential thing that I feel deeply regrettable about, but also the positive future outcome of that. So I'd like to hear your response, and please take as much time in the next 5 minutes as you need to.
Can we, Dom, before we get into the handout, can we quickly hear Pat you mentioned trust. Trust is something very important among contractual partners. Maybe she wants to add something from her point of view to the subject trust.
And from our caucus, maybe Diana wanted to answer something before me. Yes.
Yes, of course. So when you proposed this, I guess, some kind of proposal with the stocking to do something with the rest of the production, I guess we felt a little, there was just this issue exactly of communication was not addressed properly yet, which led specifically to this situation. And of course, now you have been very open, Dom, with my client, which I very much admire. And I think, Martin, that this should be the very purpose of mediation. It's being open, everybody saying and taking responsibility for some issues they might have contributed to, and really trying to understand what the underlying issues are. And yes,
I was just going to say, perhaps to address your communication and trust concern, going forward, there could be an agreement between Pat and Dom that there will be improved communication going forward. For any significant decisions, there will be a response to any questions and queries. Would that satisfy you, Pat, to build that trust going forward?
Yes, thank you, Brittany. May I just
absolutely, Diana, yes.
We'll go back to this just because there's so many points that were raised, and I think Ms. Pat should be very aware of everything. Everything is very important from what I understand. So from what I understand, Ms. Dom, correct me if I'm wrong, after the lockdown, you continued to produce masks, some of your workers. You were making profit from what I understand? If that's
not from those masks, sorry, I apologize for jumping in. Those were the government masks. But you're right that these masks that I would be selling to you, because they're such a high quality, these would be profit. These would be commercial.
Okay, so I saw the mask. Yeah, it looks very beautiful in the handout. So, so from what I understand, this is another proposal you have towards my client, which is to maybe work on some types of collaboration to sell such masks, considering especially the virus situation. So yes, considering that there were just 2 points raised before the caucus about the rest of the production, and also this now another proposal about the masks, I will give now the floor to, of course, Ms. Pat to address her concerns and how she sees the situation with trust and communication in these 2 proposals.
Martin, I don't know, I mean, how do you find and where do you see us in the process of this session? Do I feel a bit overwhelmed with information and questions? So I'll answer them one by one. If any of you minds anything, please tell me, because
they just feel very much at ease. There's a lot of information, but there was one point Dom just raised. She spoke about trust, and she gave an example and said, I want to be open, I want to share this with you. And I just turned to you and said, is trust something which is also important for you? How do you see this? Could you respond to her concern of trust? Because I heard from all of you that you spoke about the future collaboration, and everybody knows that trust is an important point, but what's your position to that?
Absolutely, and I will here step in and mention what we discussed with you in the caucus, Martin, because I will now separate, if you don't mind. Of course, I like your handout. I love the mask that I can see, though we'll need really more details before we dig into discussing this option, definitely. And what I wanted to discuss was, I mean, I said to Martin that I was a bit worried about the way, about, of course, communication and trust, which you, Brittany, mentioned. And I'm so glad, and I acknowledge the fact that, of course, you, Dom, felt, and your team felt this once more, the sense of fulfillment and great responsibility working on producing masks. And of course, I cannot be, I cannot keep being confused that you are producing masks for the sake of the nation, which I find good. Though, of course, I find this issue with you not notifying us on time, and I'm so sorry that mediation is over. I'll continue.
Conversation here, Pat,
I wanted to
schedule another mediation for tomorrow, and we can discuss these issues further.
Well,
but it's been a really great conversation today.
Yes,
so if we pass back to Martin.
Yeah.
Martin,
Thank you very much.
Am I allowed
just make a
to
little
tell?
proposal?
Am I
Can I
allowed
make a little
to
proposal?
tell? Yeah. Okay, Martin. Okay.
The mediation is over, but what we can do after everything is finished, we can move to the networking session, meet at table 15 or 14 or 13 where it's empty, and have an additional chat about the session, if you like to, huh?
Yeah, I'd like to know what was in your facts as well, Christina, so we can compare.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we were so not specific. And it got me so confused.
No, we chat about in the networking if you want to.
Virtual handshake.
Yeah.
Well done to all of the teams. Sorry to have cut you off on such a cliffhanger. So with the judges, we'll now go to the breakout room for 15 minutes to complete the scoring. So well done both teams, and see you shortly.
Thank you, Belinda.
Thanks. So the judges finished scoring a little bit earlier, so we've come back now. So yeah, well done to all of the teams. It was really great to see your mediation. Really great to see the final. Yeah, I think a round of applause is in order. Well done to Thomas. Started it there. I thought I'd continue it. And yeah, just before we leave, I would just like to say a very well done to both teams for making it into the final, and for your performance today. You did a really good job, so well done. I would also like to extend my thanks to Martin as the mediator, of course, and all of the judges, Gali, Eleni, Andy, Damien, and Thomas. So thank you so much for all of your time and for being here in the final. It goes without saying as well that the competition would not run without our dedicated volunteers and knowledgeable professionals and working groups, of course. So thank you to them as well for their generosity to the competition. We sincerely hope to see everyone next year, of course, hopefully in Paris next time. And of course, not forgetting the ICC Mediation Week Organising Committee. So we have Jodie Shaw, Andrea Wong, and Ebony Zuniga. So thank you to the team and the rest of the ICC team as well, who has spent months working towards bringing you this first virtual edition of the ICC mediation competition. So just to let you know, the winner will be announced later tonight by Alex Fessas, Secretary General of the ICC International Court of Arbitration and Director of ICC Dispute Resolution Services. So that will be announced via social media on ICC Mediation social media accounts. So keep an eye out for that. And of course, we'll contact you, the teams as well, to let them know. And another thing to tell you is that you'll be contacted by Helene Mayo from ICC Global Communications Department just to ask you for some quotes from the final. So just so that you're expecting that as well. And then if you like, we could take a screenshot to mark the occasion as it is the final. If everyone's happy with that, we could always take a little photo. Does that sound like a good idea? Yeah.
Good idea.
Yeah. I'll count us in. If I could have our ICC tech team take the screenshot, that would be great. So on the count of 3, 1, 2. Oh, Thomas has turned his camera off. Thomas, we wanted a photo. Not to worry. Let's see if he comes back.
He went to the makeup room.
Clearly, someone's got camera shy. Not to worry. Okay, he's gone. Oh, you're back. We wanted to take a photo, Tom.
Oh, here he is. Tom, the picture.
Oh, we can't hear you. Not to worry. We don't need to hear you. You just need to look pretty. All right.
I turned my mic off. I'm sorry.
No worries. Yeah, so after 3, everyone smile and we'll have a photo. 1, 2, 3. All right, I think that's probably done now. That's enough smiling into our screens. All right, so well done again to all of the teams. We'll try and get the winner announced as soon as possible, but do keep an eye out on social media. And thank you to everyone again. Well done.
Thank you very much, Belinda. Thanks to all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you to the teams.